I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice.
Do your own research.
Consult a professional investment advisor before making any investment decisions.
This show is for entertainment only. Faites vos propres recherches.
Here we are
in another episode
of the Simple Success Podcast.
And
this is financial life coaching from a happiness perspective.
Speaking of finances, I have a brilliant business proposition. DT the businessman. What business proposition do you have up your sleeve today? My sleeves? Nah, I have it in my brain as an idea. It involves critical supply chains. Oh boy. Hey, up your sleeve is a figure of speech. You should have said so. I just did. Maybe you can start English classes as your side hustle, since you are perfect at it. With constant practice, even you can start teaching those classes. Change everything. I can teach wisdom? Depends on how important it is to you. It must be important since we're here. And we are here because we are demanded. Which is another way of saying we're discussing supply and demand. Cool. You have perfect English. That makes reliable supply. I want English classes, so you have demand. There you have it. That's a pretty good idea of the concepts. Thanks, dude. Tell us more about the concepts of supply and demand. There is a law of supply and demand in economics. Okay, what does it entail? Why is it a law? The simple version? Por supuesto. The simple version is that, well, let's take it backwards. Starting with the demand part? Indeed. This is simply what people want. And supply? It's paying attention to what people want and giving it to them for the right price. And the law thing I asked about? In anything scientific or academic, a thing becomes a law when it happens every single time with no guessing. That's why gravity is a law. In our experience, yes. The sound of gravity. Is supply and demand why the prices of gas have gone up? Yeah, with the Russia-Ukraine thing, as with all wars, oil has become scarce. Prices have risen because it's harder to supply, while most economies have the same demand as before. So there's buyer competition amongst those economies. Exactly. So if there were only one economy, then the price would fall. If there was only one economy, there would be no price. That sounds like communism. And democracy is the worst form of government except for all the others. And you know Winston would be good with you quoting him? Maybe. It goes back to trade. There has to be more than one economy for anyone to trade anything with anyone else. But if everyone had their own economy, wouldn't they just use money instead of trading goods? They could, and they often do. Money is just another thing. We invented money to make trade easier. Like for food? Yeah. Food comes from farms. Farms come from land. Land comes from soil. Soil comes from weather. Weather comes from Noah, and it does not. That's the weather service. Got it. It's not in your demand cycle. So you take it out of your supply cycle. I should? Oh, yeah, you're right. I should. That's the idea. And I will. See if I don't. I can't look. No worries, I did it. I don't believe you. Why? Because I didn't look.
Duh.
So how did we get started on this topic? I like economics, among other things. Oh, it's not like economics is your job. No, although my first book is going to be named. And what's the problem with that? No, I don't really like that name. Maybe for your second book. Maybe, sure. Or maybe energy costs, or nuclear power, or electric vehicles. Wait. If there is demand, I meant. I knew you meant that. What are you thinking about? Well, let me ask you something. Sure. You're a smart guy. How many times have you been wrong about something? Once. Only once? Well, let's see, but I guess I could be wrong again. Only if someone demands it in a competitive market. Okay, I'm beginning to see how this works. I think so too. The way I see it, the market is always trying to find equilibrium. Which means what? Well, it means everything gets sold at its highest price and nothing gets bought below its lowest price. Right, but that doesn't mean the price is set by the market. It doesn't? Not necessarily. Sometimes so-called market activities are quite people-y. That's because people are involved. I guess that's true, DT. De nada. De rien. Anyway, I'm getting carried away here. I'd better stop talking before I start sounding like a politician. Good idea. Thanks. Anytime. Now, I want to go back to our conversation about supply and demand. I think we should take a break here before diving into any policy advice. Is Daniel ready for that? Yes, he agrees with me. We're off to
break number 1.
Hello, everyone. This is John with the Simple Success Podcast, financial life coaching from a happiness perspective. Because we know you want to show us some serious love in return for the tremendous benefits you get from us. Please head over to the support link in our written show notes. That's the words on your podcast player. There, you can choose from a $9.99 per month doing level of support, a $4.99 knowing level, or a basic intro level of just 99 cents per month. Great place to start. Whichever you choose, thank you so much for helping us do this for you. And to leave us a voice message, which just might see the light of day in a future podcast, go to those same written show notes. You'll go to a site where you can leave a video, audio, or text-only message, depending on how you feel at the moment. You can also send us an audio file attached to an email if you use just more than your phone for stuff. I won't repeat those links because weird. And anyway, show notes. It's all in there, and it's all easy. Before the break, you were explaining the laws of the forces of supply and demand. How can I use these laws to my advantage? Well, first off, you need to know which ones apply in your situation. When we were thinking about the home we built in Washington, for example, we thought in terms of buyer's markets and seller's markets. Where a buyer's market means? It means that the probable advantage is there for the demand market. So, sellers beware instead of buyers beware? Yeah, a bit. And the seller's market? Look out for the price hike. That's because the advantage is there for the supply market, since sellers supply houses for sale in a sense. That means it's time to sell, sort of like time to increase production. Yes, and you can take advantage of it by selling something that's in demand. Which makes sense, but does that mean I will be starting a new business every time something's in demand? You can look at it that way, and why not if you have the bandwidth to start several businesses? Sounds like a lot of work. It is, but it's also a great way to earn money while doing what you love. I don't know. Maybe I'll be a lawyer. I didn't know you liked that sort of thing. I don't really, but a famous rapper once told me I could be anything I set my mind to being. The title lawyer sounds cool to me. Imagine having the title plate Attorney Doubting Thomas at my office door. Won't people respect me more? Nice one, E.T. How about Doubting Thomas Esquire instead?
This one is liked especially.
If that's an option for me, I do rather like that. Yes, especially. Do you know that the laws of energy supply and demand work in every profession? Really? How so? Prospective lawyers become so in order to increase supply because they recognize increased demand, in this case, for their services. So, by creating solutions, they help their customers solve their own problems. Exactly. There are many ways to go about this, and it's true no matter what. For doctors, lawyers, salespeople, bus drivers, you name it. Successful investors? Nice transition, DT. Yes, even successful investors. Just a good guess on my part. How do investing markets tick? It's very similar. Buyers and sellers meet, and at the right price, all products are sold. That's a pretty simple summary of the whole thing. And simple is the point, right? Supply, demand, price. 3 little words? Oui, monsieur. Often that is all it takes to make one's heart beat faster. Liberty, equality, fraternity. Captured the French Revolution. Oh, right. And I love you underpins many a successful relationship. Let's keep this going. Life, liberty, happiness are at the heart of the U.S. Declaration of Independence. And like you said a second ago, for many economists, those 3 magic words are supply, demand, and price. So, the 3 magic words for the investor, the equivalent, is you serve me. Huh? You serve me? Yeah, like in minimalism. If it doesn't serve you, you don't need it. Oh, and MSIs definitely do serve us. They do, DT, and we can learn from doing anything. Even teaching English? Even teaching anything. We all learn from each other. I may be good at English and I may have a passion to teach it, but what will I do to start classes? What will I do to provide good market opportunities? Look for people interested in taking English classes. Duh. Yep, that's demand. You can either look for your customers or demand by advertising your services. If you're not sure where to advertise, ask someone who has experience in marketing. Marketing is another commodity that has demand and supply. Yes, DT. And since you are the one in need of marketing services, you become the demand, and the service provider, the marketer, becomes the supply. So everybody has something they supply and something they demand. Pretty much. Even babies have things they supply and demand, unless they're supply chain disruptions like COVID. Babies? I don't know about supply. What I know is they demand a lot of things. Yes, babies do demand a lot of things. And that's why there's a booming market for baby clothes, healthy food, and toys. What do they supply? Who? The babies. Who? The babies. Who? The babies. Oh, they supply joy, love, and cuddles. Priceless things that money cannot buy. For people who need those things. Which is just about everybody, but for now, we'll say right. For people who get those types of things from babies. Otherwise, everybody needs joy, love, and emotional connection. I still need to know how this demand and supply stuff can make me money. I know. DT needs to be shown where the money is. I need that broken down. I promise I will break it down in our closing act.
But first, break number 2.
We know a lot about you already because we know ourselves. For example, we know that you know how to listen to our podcast. We also know that you probably know how to subscribe. So as soon as you're done with that, tell us your story. We have ways you can contact us. It involves a special link where you can leave us a message. We may have an email address for you as well in the future, and we'll let you know if that happens. The reason for subscribing? I thought you'd never ask. When you subscribe, you automatically download all future episodes of that podcast. It just happens in your player without you having to go search again. How cool is that? This means better rankings for the podcast, more attention from advertisers, and more money. And this means more and better stuff for you. So your motivation is simple and easy. Subscribe today, whatever app and from whatever place you like. And don't just try to subscribe. There is no try. There is only do. We're changing the way we look at things, and remember, that's good. Eso es bueno, sebo. Also remember, this is financial life coaching from a happiness perspective. Coaching happiness. Our call to action is right in the show notes. Find it, and you win too. Can I simple that? Por supuesto. Of course. Just simple it.
Please make sure your seat belts are fastened and your tray tables are in their upright position.
And make sure simple is a verb like Google is a verb. Time to land this puppy. Thanks for the mixed metaphor. De nada, de rien. Yes, and my favorite part. How do supply and demand tie into investing? That depends on where you are. Huh? Well, if you're in Long Beach, California, you might want to visit the supply and demand neighborhood bar before investing. Oh, that makes sense. Not. Right, that was a test. In any investment, you have to study the demand curve. The demand curve shows the relationship between the price and the quantity demanded. It also tells you whether the product is scarce or abundant, and it's an easy-to-read graph. Oh, that doesn't make sense. Well, it makes economist sense. Why is that important? This is important because if you want to invest your money wisely, you must understand scarcity. If you invest in an asset that is scarce, you'll earn higher returns than if you invest in something that is plentiful. So, let's say I'm going to invest in gold. Is that scarce? Ever since King Midas screwed that pooch, there hasn't been any more of it made. And that's good news for me? It is, if relative scarcity is a big thing in your investment goals. What if I want to be a green investor? Are those scarce? They have been, although they're becoming a bit more common now. But is that supply and demand related? Very much so, mon ami. How? I demand sustainable somethings? So a smart supplier, after finding your underlying goal, will supply you with those sustainable something. And books? You mentioned those earlier in a previous act. Any particular one good for reading on this subject? There's one. What's it called? No surprise here. It's called Supply and Demand Investing. And more stuff in a subtitle. About finding winners? Presumably. I do like the title, though. Me too. Now, how does this relate to investing? Good question. What? I would say let's take a look at the chart, but of course, this is an audio-only podcast. Okay, so we just imagine a chart. Good. The imaginary chart shows two different scenarios. On the left side, we see a scenario with high supply and low demand. On the right side of our imaginary chart, we see a situation with low supply and high demand. Once again, left, high supply, low demand. Right, low supply, high demand. Whoa. Great use of graphics in an audio-only situation, John. Yes, and there's an Oscar for that. Not imagining that far, at least not today. No limits when imagining, DT. Oh, so you're saying that the fact that there are so many different kinds of possible investments means that there is absolutely no problem with the supply side of things. And the fact that we all want successful investments means that the demand side of things is on track as well. So what's the message? The message is that we all need to find something we both both respect and enjoy, and then get behind it. Make a mark, so to speak. Exactly. I'll try to remember that. No such thing as trying. Right. I'll practice doing it. Namnogolushe. What's that, my liege? That translates to much better, and much better you have done. Of course I'm better. Because you practiced.
Which is how you've all gotten good.
Gracias por escuchar.
Salut. À la prochaine.
This podcast and our other podcast are productions of Little Red Hen Industries. The supporting cast who helps me bake the bread includes
Techno King, John C. Brandy, Fact Checker, Abraham Lincoln, Script Consultant, OpenAI, Language Consultant, Ever Evolving, Media Expert, Favor Abassi EK, Psychologist, William James, Rabbit Hole Advisor, Dr. Mark Barrett, Sound Designer, Goodly Amo Marconi, Videographer, Alfred Hitchcock, Inspiration, many podcasts and other sources, and of course Napoleon Hill.
We also have websites, and you can subscribe to both podcasts and get ebooks and other great stuff. You can send us a video, audio, or text message, but of course, you'll have to head to the show notes, either on your phone or on the web, to actually get links and stuff. And those clickable links are in the show notes.
And before we forget, the artificial intelligence or AI voices you hear in our work come from Google, Amazon Polly, OpenAI, and the online tone generator linked in the show notes.
Finally, you can find us on podmatch.com and matchmaker.fm, where we consider guests and guesting on other pods.
And really finally, the music for our pods comes from Cute by Ben Sound and from Piano Background by Nick Simon Adams. The sound effects credits go to Jackson Academy Ashmore, Canoe CG, Dr. Jekyll, Joe Payne, Everything Sounds, MK Play More Stories, ERH, Sand Emotions, Big Pickle 51, and Just Good Inc. Yes. That's his or her name, all on freesound.org.
Pull.